So if we go back to the W3 sections and you look for text, you can look through the text section and you won't find anything about color, changing the colors. It'll talk about the wide, it talks about the opacity here, which you can look at. It talks about adding things like drop shadows, and you can look at adding those things by adding in a style for a drop shadow and those kinds of things. But you can go to the fonts section and you can look at the different headings for that. But it's not until you go into the colors where you can see how you can change the different colors of the elements and then text color. So this is where you would want to go to change the color name of something. So the format would be this. Alright, so if you wanted to use different colors, you can change hover colors and those sort of things, but we want to just change the color of the text. So if you were working here, I'm going to close some of these out, and let's say we wanted to change this color to be something else, class W3, let's see. So it'd be W3 and then a color. Let's see if we can get, I'll just say yellow for now. Let's see if that's right. And there you go. You can see that it's now yellow. And we could change other elements as well. But that's how you would change the color, kind of control the color to be, that's one way to do it. If we wanted to just do something that was already there. But you've seen there's lots and lots and lots of different color possibilities and color palettes, and you can see a lot more. Here's some basic color examples. Anyway, so we can work more with those things if you wanted to. And so we've got the section, and notice that it has the max width. So that means if it's being responsive, as things move out, even though the screen gets really big, this is only going to be 600 pixels wide. So that, a couple of things, that gives you an idea of what 600 pixels look like. So in your mind you can kind of think about how wide something is and how many pixels that this might be 500 pixels or something like that. So I could, and so as we begin to kind of move through, as you start to kind of look at that sort of stuff, you want to be able to kind of make estimates as to how wide something is and how wide it is, and how you might be able to just block that out. So now when you're doing these things, you can hit the refresh button, and all those features that you've changed will go back to the default. And so everything is white, and everything looks like it fits well together. But let's go on to this next section. So they've got a section, it's just a section called W3 container, and there's no reason to, it's not broken up, it's just one section. But let's look at this one. This is a little bit different. Section W3 row and padding. Notice that when you start to see things like row, and then you have elements inside of a row. So for instance, we have row, and then we have class third, class third, class third. That can tell you that this row is going to be responsive, and that these third classes, these classes that are containing images, such as here, here, and here, are going to be moving and getting manipulated when the screen then hits that breakpoint. So there's going to be a breakpoint at some point in time, in space, over here. It's usually around 600. Alright, notice that when I hit the 600 mark, that jumps. So you can be looking at it like that. And then when this jumps, it's going to be basically resized to take up that 100% space. It's only filling up 100% of this space, but that space has been broken down into thirds. So here's where coloring things comes in handy, because what I want you to be able to do is go into each one of these, we've got a section. That section is taking on, is light gray, so we can see the light gray elements here. But within the light gray, we have a breakdown. We have an article that is only taking up a third of the space. Well, let's color that. All right, if I was to say red, and here's this, here's where it's been divided. Here's the third position. Let's do another one. Let's just do we can do RGB. So we can do W3 red. Then we'll go down to the next article. We'll just say W3 green. All right. And then I'll go down to the next article and say W3 RGB, W3 blue. And I'll run that. So now we have these three colors. And you can see the clear separation of each. But as the space gets wider, or the space gets smaller, we break into these three individual parts. They stack up just like what we would expect. Okay? Now, let's look at something else. Let's look at the space around this item. That's a little bit hard to see, but if you notice, there's a little bit of padding right around here. That's coming from the parent container, this section, this W3 row. If I took this out and ran it, notice that we don't have that padding anymore. All that padding has been removed. I'm going to put that back in. Notice how it gives everybody a little bit of space. Everything's got a little bit of space in it, and it doesn't feel quite so bad. All right, and W3 center, centering things. Everything in the space is going to be centered, and then we've got the W3 light gray. So we have a different color here, so we could go back and look at different colors, and we could choose another color if we wanted. So here's the light gray. So if we wanted to go something dark or something neutral, we could. And I want you to experiment with those things. That's the whole point, is trying to try to experiment with this types of stuff. Oops. So this is kind of where we're at right now. We're kind of looking at these different elements. And one of the things that I think is important is to experiment with just removing these elements and seeing what changes can be made as you do that. So if we were to take out parts of this W3 center, remove it. See how all these headers, or these heading things, all start to flow to the left. So each one of these things is adding a little bit of style to this, obviously. A style that makes it kind of all fall into place and stay organized. Now, obviously, these band member images can be changed, and you can put in different things in there. Now, if you wanted to, you could change the width of the amount of space that these images could take up. So we can say only take up 50% of the space of this whatever container you're in. So notice that it's causing this whole element to change. This whole image is only taking up 50%. If I change this to 75 and ran it, it would take up less space inside. So you can adjust and work with these things as well, as it's kind of causing this whole thing to respond to the size of this image. And if it got smaller, you can't tell so much, but it takes up less space within it. So as you compare, notice that that image is now taking up a smaller amount of space within that parent container. And so that's, as we're moving along, kind of looking at all these things and seeing how what they're doing to change the way everything looks within that section. So let's do something else. Let's actually change this up a little bit. So what would happen is, say if we took out this portion, let's say instead of having 3 sections, we wanted to have 4 sections. Maybe we want to add another section in there. So what would we have to do that? Well, we would have to create another article, right? So here's where our article begins and ends. Control copy. I'm going to add it after Ringo down here. Oops, I don't want to take out Ringo's article ending tag. So we got to be careful. But I do want to keep, I'm staying within that section, but I want to pull in, I'm going to add a new article. This article is going to be called George, just so we can keep track of it. And we can say George plays guitar. All right. Now, if I was to just do this right here, George plays guitar. I want to give him another color, so let's make George RGB. Let's make this yellow. All right. So now I've got 4. But here's what we've got to change. We've got thirds being taken up. Take up a third of the space. Take up a third of the space. Well, we want to change that to, let's do quarters. Or is it a fourth? A quarter or fourth? Which is it? Looks like a quarter will work here. Let's see what happens. Just go ahead and change these. And let's see what it looks like if we run that. So now we've got nice setup. We've got all 4 here. They're all responsive, right? They're going to change at that spot. Things stay nice and organized. Oh, this one has black text. This one has white text. So let's see why that is happening. Why would that be happening? So we've got article W3/4 red, John, band members random, article, George, article, and section. Alright, let's find out why that is happening. There's no special things happening up here, so let's go down and look at the code here. W3/4, yellow, image George, W3 text. So I put that in as white. It probably must have changed it because of the yellow and the low contrast. It's probably built in to avoid that. But and they're right. It needs to be something that isn't white on yellow is a bad choice. But it was interesting that it changed on you, and that's actually both good and bad. It changes your design, but it is good because of the contrast. So we might want to change that up, or change the background color. It would be better to change the background color to something maybe a little bit more brown for Norwegian wood or something like that. And so experimenting with these things, you don't always get what you think you're going to get, but sometimes these built-in safeties might be to the advantage. Maybe this orange would be a nice choice. So let's look at that orange, and I'll go with that instead. So instead of yellow, I'll just put in orange. Run that and see what we get. There we go. That's better. All right, so we've been working with this. We're going to work with some other changes in the next video.